still March 10th. A couple things. I'm still reflecting on this morning and the information about love being expansive and how we do that. And I listened to MJ's message again because I was waking up when I listened to it. I still have that tingling sensation, it won't go away. I tried calling again. Blue Anthem left a message. But as I was sitting in the car just waiting for the car to just run for a while and for someone from Blue Anthem to pick up before I left a message, and the Blue Cross, I was just thinking more about the opposite effect, right? Of just this continued way of how do I explain love to my clients who don't get it, right? Where it's this abstract concept. And then think, okay, it's gratitude, right? And if there's a spectrum of love in terms of intensity and ability to experience it, and then at the same time ability to expand is going to vary for each one of us, right? Because I kept thinking about those who have a harder time understanding it, right? Picking up on the social cues, picking up on all of the elements, right? That we use to process experiences. And then the other spectrum of people who identify spiritually as empaths, right? And very highly sensitive people, but really the people who could feel the emotion, right? To another extreme. So you have two extremes, and then all of us fall somewhere in the middle. And so the capacity for each person to make sense of their world, right, is a different ranges. The output is still love, right? Ideally, that's the goal. In order to expand, it reminded me. I was just like, how can I put it? How can I visualize it for them, right? Because I even have adults that are high on the spectrum, autism spectrum, who identify. They've labeled themselves as such. And they're older adults. I noticed a trend. It's the older adults. And then I wonder what about their experience labeled them as such, right? Because they're the ones that have gone through all of the waves of change with psychology and how we view, right, mental health and illness, right? When it's really not an illness. It's us forgetting to connect with ourselves, right? But they've, tried to conceptualize themselves in the environment that they find themselves in. I remembered that movie with the vampires and wolves and Bella. Freaking movie called. I can't remember what that movie's called. Twilight. And the last the gift that she has, right? This ability to be shut off, like where people can't read her. Well, at least Edward can't really read her, but really, like, you see her, and even her friends are like, she's off, right? She's different. She's she's just different in how she presents. But it's really just her kind of going within more, right? And then it ends up being, right, after she transforms, that it's a gift, that it's this ability, a shield, that's what they called it, a shield. But with practice, she was able to expand on that, right? She was able to open herself up. And then that shield kind of helped cover everybody else around her. Expansion, right? Like visually, that's what I was thinking of, just this shield, and then this ability to expand from that. And thinking about how my clients, right, who have certain disabilities, their range of expansion is just gonna look different. That's all. It's just gonna look different, but it's still expansion nonetheless. What else did I think about? I thought about I was struggling with this thing that I'm working on, one of my projects, and the way that I explain triggers and the purpose of emotions to my clients, and they look at it and they've told me, Yubi, that's a novel concept. I'm a novel concept. What the hell does that mean? It's a novel concept of a way to look at a trigger. And I even looked it up. I'm like, well, you know, I mentioned that I know enough to do my job well, but I didn't really dive into any of the theories. Like, I didn't take like a concrete theories. I took the basic stuff. And yes, I took like practicum courses where you go over it, but I did what I needed to do to survive during that time in my life. So I don't remember. Like, I get the gist of the different theories, but I don't, when I do the work that I do, I'm not rigid in it has to be this way. Like, I'm just like, let's take this, you know, I'm very much like, because we're all unique, and so what works for one, it's not going to work for the other. And I just see where my clients are, and I start off the same, psycho ed, like, let's use a common language as we move forward so that I can understand you better. I don't want to assume that I know what you know about emotions, right? I don't want to assume that you know what a trigger is. Like, let's clarify. I even looked up psycho ed. I'm like, well, psychoeducation is defined as an intervention with systematic, structured, and didactic knowledge transfer for an illness and its treatment. I'm just like, integrating emotional and motivational aspects to enable patients to cope with the illness and to improve its treatment adherence and efficacy. And I'm just like, well, you know, that's not how I bill psychoeducation, but whatever. I just use this as information. Like, it's just this baseline of information, not necessarily for illness. I mean, it is regarding treatment, under basic understanding of emotions, right? And triggers. I looked up what the definition of a trigger is. In psychology today, it's when we know our emotional triggers, we can choose to not expose ourselves to situations that harm our mental health, or to digital content that can generate unpleasant emotions. The idea is not to run away from these situations and create a bubble that separates you from the world. However, being aware simply helps us to know our limitations and avoid, as much as possible, exposing ourselves to those situations that hurt us and negatively affect our mental health and self-esteem. It's all about coping. It's not about listening or healing, right? In terms of it's just this awareness of triggers so that you can avoid them, right? Again, this avoidance, until I found this article, The Purpose of Emotion, an Overlooked Self-Regulatory Sense. It's researchoutreach.org, July 23rd, 2020. And Peel Kaufman, here it is, 2014, Emotion, the Self-Regulatory Sense, Global Advances in Health and Medicine, came out in 2014. And it talks about here the importance of listening to your emotions as your internal compass. And it talks about the oppression of how we look at the world. It's good or bad, right or wrong, right? And the evolutionary it's exactly what I've been talking about with my clients, and the misunderstanding of emotion, and learning to listen, right? And challenging the literature in the sense of like, it's an interdisciplinary approach. It's an interdisciplinary. The summary: Peel Kaufman's paper unifies the many diverse theories and literatures on emotion from a broad range of disciplines, and she draws on an abundance of empirical evidence from each of these to make a compelling argument. Her interdisciplinary approach and expanded, inclusive definition helps to elucidate the biophysical function of emotion as a sense that serves the purpose of self-regulation. Importantly, her model is fully testable. It integrates many seemingly contradictory empirical studies, and many of its predictions are already notable in research across the social and physical sciences. She notes that the model is not without its vices, such as the requirement for researchers to overcome the traditionalist approaches, both theoretically and practically, and the revisions to vocabulary that a broader approach necessitates. However, it is the first model to offer a biologically justifiable function of emotion, and the virtues of this are surely worth overcoming the challenges. Indeed, the model has important implications relevant to all of us, empowering us to trust in and use our everyday emotions to guide thought and behavior. It gives purpose to our feelings and offers an optimistic portrait of human nature. I mean, when I got to this article, I was like, okay, I'm not going crazy. It's just like, there's somebody out there who gets it, right? There's somebody out there who gets it. And I'm going to include the link. Hopefully I don't forget or lose it. But it just like, it relieved this I'm on the right track. I'm on the right track. With my clients, I'm on the right track. And that feels good. It feels good. We're all purposeful. And then I was thinking about too, just how in society we're valued based on our output of functionality. Based on our output of functionality. Versus just existing. And interacting and learning and growing. It's based on our output. And then I have clients who struggle with being productive. Being productive, they're not being productive enough. This waste of time concept. And they struggle with that. They struggle with their worth if they're not being productive. And how the haves and the have-nots, right, use this as labor. I'm learning about that in my classes about workforce and how we're training our kids. We're training our kids. I don't want my kids to be trained like that. I don't want them to view the world like that. View each other like that. I don't want that for my kids. Okay. That's what I was thinking about. I have to get ready for my next 2 clients, and then I have class, so that's all. Hi. My name is Yubi, and in case you haven't figured it out, this footage is capturing my experience as I learn to navigate my personal spiritual awakening. I am learning that this experience is unique to each one of us. In whatever way we believe we are embracing living our truth, this just happens to be my journey. And despite me having a graduate degree and a license in clinical social work, this by no means is intended to replace any type of mental health advice. This is just me on a personal level, documenting my experience, shedding light on the truth that I am learning and discovering for myself, and really inviting you along for the ride. If by some magical chance you find this content to be helpful in any way, shape, or form, please click the like button, share the message, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have an Instagram account, a personal one, and one specifically for this channel that you're more than welcome to check out. I'm an open book. I have also created t-shirt designs. I'm wearing my favorite one right now, which is the North Node design, but I have that and other things that you can look at inspired by this process and journey, and I have the link in the description box as well as in the about section of my YouTube channel. So you're more than welcome to check those items out. Any type of support is great. Again, if you find this content really helpful or meaningful, sometimes when we take that step and be vulnerable, with showing what's inside our hearts and what's really our truth, and we realize that we're much more connected than what we thought we were. And so I hope that as I'm living this experience, and that you find some type of truth for yourself, or find some type of ability to heal in some way just by relating, just by knowing that you're not alone. That really has been my goal with this process, not just being able to connect with others, but really for my own healing. It's definitely been a therapeutic experience and a very creative one for myself. So I thank you, and I wish you all the best, and we'll see what else comes next for me.